All right. Anybody? I got three people watching. Wow. Oh, I wonder who.
Right. Hello,
Maybe probably
everybody.
one of them is you. One of them is me, and so there's one other random person.
And our follower,
Let's
hello, you.
go.
Hello, you.
Don't make them feel uncomfortable. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't
Oh,
know us too well. No, I'm joking. Thanks for tuning in. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. Um, all right. So this is the Ignorant Experts. I'm Jackson, and this is my sister Annemarie. This
I'm
is a
Annemarie.
show where I talk to people in their 20s, um, and ask them questions about whatever their focus is in career or other related things. And the idea is that we're looking to further our thinking, the people involved in the show, and also to anybody watching and anybody listening, we want to try to provide some value to you. If you're our age, maybe the value will come in the form of seeing what we think works and what doesn't work, and maybe you can learn from us, our mistakes, our wins, etc. And if you're older, we're hoping that perhaps you can get a fresh take on something that a lot of younger people are thinking or some new idea that we might have. And today we're going to talk about teaching and a lot of different topics. And urban education more is the focus here. Annemarie is a teacher, and tell us a little bit about like where your experience with teaching. Where did it start? Where are you now? Hmm.
Okay, so when I started teaching, I was 14 years old. And it started by accident because I hated kids pretty much up until that point. But I started teaching when I was 14 by accident. I started running classes for little kids, teaching art specifically because I'm an art teacher. But right now, what I do
Teaching, I was
is I
14.
teach overage and undercredited kids. And what that means is overage meaning kids who are able to get their high school diploma but have mixed the mark of the normal age that you would get a high school diploma in, right? So they're 16 to 21, and undercredited meaning they probably just didn't show up to school a lot for whatever reason, whatever it might be. Maybe you had a kid, maybe you had a drug problem, maybe you just had situations at home, or, maybe you just really weren't feeling school, whatever it is. So that's what I do now. So that population, and we're coming to you live from Philly. So I teach personally a lot of Hispanic, primarily like Puerto Rican kids. So, and a lot of them also at the same time, the school that I work at has a baby room. So I teach a lot of kids who have kids, right? So young mothers, 16, 18, 19, things like that.
Great. Okay, I think that gives us a little bit of a background. I just wanted to say we got somebody commented on the live stream. Thanks, Mikey, for watching.
Hey,
he,
Mike, what up?
I think he's Korean. I don't know if he speaks any English because he just said my name in Korean in the chat. So, and then yeah, like thank you for watching. I was gonna write back to him in chat in Korean,
Yeah.
but I don't have a Korean keyboard right now. So okay, awesome. Thanks for giving us the background, Anne Marie. I just wanted to kind of start by, and we have our topic list here. I wanted to start by getting a little bit more into what makes your job different than other teaching jobs. So, what do you think you have to do differently than as like teaching in urban education? And I guess that's like such a broad category, but then maybe your
Right.
typical teacher who's watching this at a more average school or normal school, or I don't even know if that's the right terminology, but
Right.
you know what I mean?
So
Yeah.
if you're a teacher and you're teaching in the suburbs and you're
Okay. Yeah.
watching for whatever reason, this is why the kids that I teach are different. And I'll tell you why. Because my kids come from a background of trauma, right? And the background of trauma that they come from, it's multiple traumas from different experiences. So one, a lot of my kids are young mothers. So, and from what I've seen from most of them is they are unsupported by their family, unsupported by the system. Most of my kids that end up at the school that I teach at only end up there because they have been failed by the system, right? So they may have gone to 2, 3, 4, 5 different schools before they even end up at us. And why is that? Okay, because they're in Philly and they're in schools that are underfunded.
Yeah, Philly has a
Right.
notoriously bad school district compared to even other cities.
Shout out to Philly Public School District. But yeah, so they've been not only, traumatized by not having support from their parents or whatever, family structure they have, but that they have never ever had a teacher in their life that cares about them, really. So when they come to us, right, what I always try to do is I try to show them love, compassion, and show them immediately off the bat that I care about them, because that comes first before I can teach them anything. They have to know, they have to trust me, and they have to know that I care about them. But so basically, they're just bringing a giant backpack of baggage into this situation. It's just so much harder to break their shell and get into their psyche and get them to trust me, because I can't teach them if they don't trust me and they don't feel supported.
Yeah, like just to ask a follow-up question and to give a background of the question, I taught for 1 year in South Korea, and before I ended up working there in film. But it's very different from what you're saying, because I got to focus on how do you be a good teacher, and that's your focus. But at the same time, it feels like you might have these additional aspects as well, like dealing with that trauma. And
Right.
also, I mean, discipline, I would imagine, is a pretty big thing that you have
Discipline
to
is
get
huge.
good at
Discipline
doing,
is
that I had to deal with in a smaller capacity. But for you, it's a whole other focus of your job
right.
that's like very
Right.
primary.
Yeah. So if the kids don't trust me, I mean, I mean, quoted from, but a kid is not going to learn from somebody they don't like, first and foremost, and somebody they don't trust. So that's me. I have to break down that wall first and foremost. And then, like you said, the discipline is a huge aspect, which for me, coming from being a kindergarten teacher, which to be fair needs its own form of discipline, right? Kindergarten needs discipline too, but it's totally, totally different. And you have to really, that's really me. I have to be almost militant about it, which is not very much my nature, but I had to learn doing this job. You just have to be very, very structured and very, very tough at certain times. And it is to the benefit of these kids, because these kids that come to us have never had the structure, have never had the replication for actions. They've never had the support systems that our school has. So, like, for example, my school has counselors, therapists on hand, emotional support staff that they can go see at any time, which is why they come to us, right? But a lot of the schools don't have that kind of things, right? So
Yeah. Do you feel that aspect of it kind of takes away from your like desire to teach? Because I'd imagine, because I know that when you were younger, you taught younger students and not from like in an urban education setting. So do you feel like even these days that sometimes that makes it like, I don't know, do you feel like you just aren't able to teach the way you want to? Does that take away from it?
It does sometimes. But okay, so I'll give you an example. So let's say that I'm teaching a lesson. If there becomes a discipline issue while I'm teaching the lesson, I need to go ahead and go deal with the discipline issue, whatever it is, write a pink slip, write a report, whatever, send the student out of the class. So that makes me pause, and stop the lesson from whatever, because there's only one of me and, there's, 30 of the students. I have to stop whatever I'm doing to go ahead and deal with this discipline issue. On the other hand, if I was to do it the other way, let's say I didn't stop the lesson, I just ignored the discipline issue, right? It would just compound on itself. So yes and no, because on one hand, yes, I do find myself on sometimes having to almost not ignore, but I feel like I'm not giving the attention that I want to the students who are actually doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Just because I have to give a lot of
Yeah.
my attention to the kids who are causing the problem.
Look, I think that's a feeling that any teacher or anybody who has taught can relate to. It's just that you're almost dealing with it on a different scale. It sounds like,
Yes,
because
yes.
I can relate to that
Bad for
even
those
when I was
students.
teaching, like for that year. Like it's you don't want to have to deal with the discipline. Like like you have to, but
No,
it's not obviously why you're teaching. Unless you're
no,
like
it's
kind of
not.
like
No,
an insane
yeah,
person, or you just want to like have power in the situation or something. But like
no.
you should be
And
teaching
that's
anyways.
been, yeah,
Yeah.
that's been very hard for me to adjust to is the strict discipline, because it's hard to be the person that is always saying no and always being, I don't want to say aggressive, but always being the aggressor in the situation, like
Yeah.
telling people what to do and where to go. And, but it has to be done in these certain situations because these kids are just lacking in structure, basically. And so
Yeah.
they wouldn't have ended up at the school that I teach at if they didn't need that structure. So that's been like an adjustment period. And I do actually, a lot of times as a teacher, I get a lot of anxiety about going into situations like that. Certain
Hmm.
times when I've had multiple incidents with students, I can predict when these things are going to happen. Your students, you know how they're going to act. Sometimes, you'll go into the classroom and it'll be, 7:30 a.m. and you have a lot of anxiety, like in your body and your heart. I know there's going to be a confrontation. I know I'm going to have to deal with it. And I know I'm going to have to step up and confront this person. So it can be very, very, very stressful. And
Yeah. I can't even imagine. Yeah. Is
it's
there
hard to get
any?
yelled at every day.
No, yeah, that sound I could never do
Yeah.
that, and so I'm very like
Yeah.
glad that you are doing this, and that I don't know, I just really respect it a lot. Like it's really cool that you're able to do this, and you don't have to, like you've chosen to
Yeah.
get yelled at every day, right? Like
Well, yeah.
most
But
people
at the
don't,
end
and
of
they
the
go to work, they
day,
don't get yelled
yeah,
at. So, but
yeah.
I'm sure it's what makes it more rewarding then. Like, why did you choose to do it, and why do you go back every day?
I feel like that I need to do this because I can, because I feel like I grew up in Philly. I understand this population of people that I'm teaching. I understand these students. I grew up here. So if I can help, why would I not help? I just feel like I have to because I can. But as much as I'm saying about how stressful and hard it is, it's also, high stress, high reward, right? So as much as I have the lows, right, the being stressed out and the getting cursed out and all that stuff and everything, then you have the highs. Then you have the moments where you're able to get through to your students, and where they're able to, oh, Miss Tritt, you really helped me with this, or I'm really, I'm an art teacher, so I really feel good, when
Hmm.
any of my students really throw themselves into their art project, that for me is good enough for me. I'll take all the bull crap, all the bullshit, everything like that, because they're happy, they're creating, and if I can help them in that, then it makes everything worth it. Then it makes everything worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
They're still
Well,
kids. They're still kids. No matter how, even if they're
uh,
21, I don't care. You guys are still kids.
yeah, yeah. What changes with the age? Like, what? Because I know you taught younger kids, and then now you're teaching older people.
Right. So,
I can't call them kids. I don't know
right.
why. Like 21 is not a kid, like in my mind. So you call them
Well,
kids.
I
Yeah, I'm
mean,
not gonna call them kids.
in
Yeah.
my mind, they've missed a lot of developmental steps
So
in
they're
their
immature
upbringing.
adults, perhaps.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. I think that's a better way to say it. Sometimes they function on like a very lower level. So I think of them as kids, depending on the kid. But yeah.
Okay.
But what's the difference between younger kid and older kids?
Yeah, teaching.
So So a lot of it is the same as far as discipline. You have to be very structural about everything with little kids and with older kids, right? If you act out of line, okay, there needs to be repercussions immediately, right?
Yeah.
However, the difference between little kids and older kids is kind of in your voice. So if you're talking to a little kid, it's being like, "Hi, how are you, sweetheart? Come on in. Where's our seat gonna be? Maybe we can go find our art seat. Maybe we can go sit over here. Or do you want to go in a little? You just kind of approach it differently. It's all about your tone, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with older kids, it's not necessarily different, but you just need to change your voice, change your tone, change your language a little bit. Hey guys, how's everybody doing today? Come on in. I'm so glad to see you today. It's great to see you. Come on in. This is what we're going to be doing today. It's the same rapport. It's the same message.
Do you ever see those, like, I don't know, so you're on TikTok a lot, but you ever see those videos where, like, I've seen them on TikTok and other places where, like, I've seen one where, like, a parent will, like, talk to their kid, and then they'll say something, like, really mean or rude, but they'll say it in, like, a cute, like, friendly voice, or they'll do it with their dog, and they'll be like, "Oh, you little piece of shit, you're an asshole,"
Oh,
and then the dog will be like, "Oh, I'm so happy." Is it like the same thing? Like, younger kids, the tone is a lot more important. Okay.
The younger the kid, the more that works. Honestly, I used to teach 18-month-year-olds, right? And it didn't matter what you were saying, as long as you were like smiling and you were like, hell.
It's like, that's the worst piece of art of all time. Oh my god.
It didn't matter what you were saying. It really didn't. It's more about your vibe, your face, and the energy you're
I mean, it makes sense. Like, their language centers or what, I don't know the neuroscience of it, but it's less developed. So that makes a lot of sense, actually. I never thought about it that way before.
You could literally just not speak English to them. You could just be like, and they would still be like,
unless you're teaching English, you might want to speak some English, but no. Okay, so is there anything else about the? I almost want to have these conversations, and I want to, like, kind of push you a little bit to think about somebody watching this who is, like, kind of interested in teaching, or maybe they haven't, but they, like, aren't so into it yet. Like, maybe they haven't had their first full-time teaching job, or they do, but it's not the kind that you're talking about. I almost want you to think about them when you're answering some of these questions. So just keep that in mind. So is there any other tips you would give that person about teaching older students?
Older students? Okay. Tips I can give you: respect is earned, not given. Okay. You have to show them.
And I think that, just to caveat, I think this could apply to outside of a teacher position. Like, there's teaching everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, like,
interacting with people in general, especially young people. Yeah.
Exactly. If you have some knowledge and somebody wants your knowledge, and in any, or skills in any setting. Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
If you're working with teenagers, specifically teenagers who have a hard upbringing or have experienced trauma, please know that they are not going to trust you right off the bat. They have learned through their experience not to trust people because of what they've been through. So what you have to do is go in with an open mind and just know that you have to give them respect before they give you respect. So
they don't have to earn their respect.
What's that?
Do they have to earn their respect, or you just give it to them?
I give them respect unequivocally. I no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in my space and you're in my classroom, I'm going to give you respect as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I think you should take that energy into the teaching spaces. But, just start by, what's your name? How are you? If you, learn something about them. Where do they live? Who do they live with? Are they in a relationship, or do they have children? What have they been to another school? If you show a genuine interest in them, and when I say genuine, I mean genuine. You can't fake this. They will know. They pick up on that stuff. Mm-hmm. If you're full of crap, they'll know.
100%. Yeah.
They'll know. So if you show a real genuine interest in them and their life and who they are, right, and come to them with sincerity, then they might not, they might not fall into it, but slowly, they will start to open themselves up to you. And I'm not saying everyone, this isn't 100% of
Hmm.
all cases. Everybody's different,
Yeah.
but you have to give them the respect before they give it back to you. And
Something I
oh, go ahead.
realized what just when I was teaching for that year is that um, the way I was able to do that, what you just said, was like along the same lines as talking to the student about what like entering their world a little bit, like
Yeah,
what they're interested in, or someone like their age group, what they do, or like what like what they do with their friends, like that kind of stuff. You almost need to try to understand them from where they are. Like you can't
right,
expect them to talk about what you are interested in as a
right.
completely and that was especially important being in Korea because I had no context to their upbringing, not as much as I would to teaching American students. So like you start talking to them about like K-pop groups and then like different movies, like they love Marvel in Korea. Like it's like so a lot of the
Really,
students, oh yeah, they're obsessed with Marvel and all the superheroes and stuff, and the
right.
Avengers is like insane there.
I'm
It's just nuts.
ground,
But but yeah, like
but
you got to connect on where they are. Like try to talk to them about things that they care about. Then that'll.
even outside of that, though, you
Hmm.
have to be able to. How do I say this? I mean, I take some amount of verbal abuse from them, right? So a lot of times I've had kids, fuck you, and what you don't want to do is go in and feed into that aggression. It's better to take that kid, right, and separate them from their peers. Separating from their peers eliminates that factor of I want to show off, or I need to act cool, or I need to act so macho, or some sort of way, whatever it is. Take them away from their peers. Okay, before you go in and say, okay, you curse me out, screw you, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. Just ask them what's going on because you don't know what's going on. Maybe they just had a recent death in the family, right? Maybe they are struggling with drug abuse. Maybe they were up all night with their child. You don't know. So it's always better to remove them from the situation, take them out, get them one on one,
This is
and really,
when there's like something happening like disruptive in the classroom, somebody
right, right,
fighting or yelling
and
or something like that. Okay.
right, and you disarm them with kindness. That's the best thing you can do because it really catches them
What
off their
do
guard.
you ever
It
feel
really
like
does.
the even like the tough like boys and like even the tough girls, like do they sometimes not respond well to your like do they take advantage of you if you're responding with kindness? Because I could imagine that happening. Like some maybe
Yes,
it would be better to
yes,
act
that
tough
can
in that
happen.
situation.
You have to be aware of that. I always like to give kids the benefit of the doubt, so
Yeah.
I'll take them out for a conversation. But if they, we're teachers, we see patterns. We know kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids
You
can
know what
see
would
everything. You
how they would
you
receive
you know a
something.
kid
Yeah.
kind of
Hmm.
who's kind of playing the system, but it's always best when you pull them out. It's just I've done this with certain kids who I've had multiple really, really like aggressive interactions with where they're very aggressive towards me. And I just go pull them out in the hallway and I go, hey, is there anything that I can do or that I have done that really offended you? And I don't feel that I know that I have not, but it really just kind of knocks them off guard and they're like,
Interesting.
no, no, it really disarms them and it really and what we're doing really is we're modeling for them how we want them to act. So if they see and they have role models who are compassionate, understanding, who are listening, who are responding to their emotions, hopefully they will internalize
Mhm.
some of that and then bring that back to their life, to their own children, to their families, to everything.
Yeah. Wow. So that's almost the extra responsibility, given that they might not have as many role models as someone in that suburban high school we talked about. Um,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you say to who would what kind of person would be a good person to do your job, like
Oh
personality
anybody
wise?
cares. Okay. Somebody who wants to be a teacher, one, you have to be patient. Number two, you have to be willing to wake up very early. Good to know. Number
I think there's a
three,
lot of jobs like that, but yeah, go ahead.
um, number three, you have to be strong mentally. I really do feel this. I mean, it depends where you're teaching. Maybe you're not working in the inner city and it's not as high stress as a job as I have. But at the end of the day, kids are unpredictable. You never know what they're going to say, what they're going to do. So you kind of got to be flexible, roll with the punches. On number four, you got to be willing to not get paid a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hopefully
um,
that'll change in the future, but can't count
People
on
who
that.
want to be teachers, really, it's us who really care about it. We're not doing it for the money. That's obvious, like, because we're not getting paid. But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so just if you have a passion for it, spend some time with some kids, see how you feel about it. If you walk away happier than when you came, then it might be for you.
This is kind of an odd question, or just it's more of a topic. I I feel like there's a lot of bad teachers out there, and I don't think they start out as bad teachers. I think that there's a lot of people like you right now who have like the greatest of intentions
Mm-hmm.
and like really want to help young people, but then when they're 50, they just like are going through the motions and like
Right,
not connecting with the students,
right,
and they are jaded and they're like these people aren't going to really learn what I want them to learn. Like there's so
right,
many aspects. Jaded is probably the best word I could describe it, but I just feel
right,
like a lot of my teachers and I went to you as you know, like Masterman was like it's supposed to be one of the best schools in the school district, but even
right.
then I still felt like there was just the teachers just they're just spouting shit they've been spouted for the last 10 years, and like there was no, it was almost a
Yeah.
jadedness to it. So I wonder, I think it's like it's dumb to take that as like, oh, that's just them. Like when I was teaching, I felt even after a year, I felt, and my job was like pretty stressful in different ways than yours, I'm sure. We worked insane hours, and
Mhm.
um, the management just like there was like a cultural barrier where they were just like, why don't you do what we tell you to do? Why are you trying to like do what you want, like what you think is best, kind of thing? Like more of a Eastern, just the working style there in Korea. But I felt like I would be, if I did that job for 5 years, I would become that teacher I just described. Like that's why I had to quit. And so I wonder, have you thought about this? Like, have you thought about like the long term, like how do you stop that from happening, or is it
Yeah.
something you don't ever see happening with you? Um, yeah.
I mean, I totally get it. It's what I call it is the burnout. It's the burnout. You're totally. I mean, the amount. If anybody who has not taught before, if you went and you taught from 7 to 3, just for one day, I think you would understand how this
It takes
happens
so much energy.
because
That's what surprised me. Like,
it's
it's,
exhausting. It's
yeah.
so
Hmm.
exhausting. It
Hmm.
really is.
Yep.
Whether you're working with inner city kids or in this stuff, it doesn't matter. It's exhausting.
Hmm.
Kindergarten, high school, whatever. It's really so. I totally understand this burnout that happens. Your candle, runs low. Whatever. I hope this doesn't happen to me. I've seen this happen to a lot of people. They get complacent. I think people get stuck in their ways. A lot of times, you write your lesson plans and then you say, okay, I can recycle this for next year.
Yep.
Okay, I'll recycle it for the year after that. I think that I don't know because I'm not a person who's been teaching for 30 years or 40 years. So who's to say? I don't really have experience to speak on that. But hopefully, just changing your environment
Yeah.
will keep you on your toes. I mean,
Yeah.
I
That
did
makes
work.
sense.
I did work at one place, teaching for I'd say 8 or 9 years, and I really do feel like I experienced some of that towards the later end of it, just getting very frustrated. with administration, just getting very burnt out by the whole routine over and over again, just pouring all your energy into something and not getting the return that you want. So move just move.
Yeah. And if it happens too soon, too quickly, then at every place you move, then maybe stop. But we need teachers. That's the other thing is like, I feel like I also sometimes feel like I'm holding teachers to a high standard, but it is an important thing. Like you can make or break a student's love of a thing by being a good or bad teacher.
It is the most important thing. I think it's the most important job in the world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We hope to be the best people that we can be every day, but at the end of the day, we are people, and that's what it's fascinating because when I was a student, I never thought of my teachers as people.
Yeah.
I was like, there are some people, maybe they live here at the school. I don't know.
You never appreciate the good teachers when you have them. Like I look back now and I had one teacher who like loved my writing and like she would make us do a journal every day, and like she would actually like talk to me just individually about what my journal was talking about, and like trying to help me like with the writing, like and not with other students. Like she didn't have a lot of time either, and then I was just like, now I look back and it's like, oh, okay, she actually like saw a lot of potential in me and like was really trying to help me there. But you don't see it, like I didn't see it then at all. Like
we don't get a lot of return on our investments, but that's okay.
No, I bet though, like in like 5 years, you're gonna get random like emails or some shit from some student who's like, Annemarie, teacher Annemarie, or whatever they call you. Like they'll be like, I bet, I'm sure, Miss Tritt. Like then, I think that you might be surprised because you realize later, like you always realize later.
They're out there. We love that. Message your teachers. It makes our literal year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We love that. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it makes us happy.
I got a few like handwritten letters when I was teaching from like girls like in the classroom about like my teaching. Like one of them like saw I was really stressed one day and wrote me like a letter saying that like, just so you know, like I can see how hard you're trying and all that stuff. I was like, wow, this is insane. Like it made my day, that whole day.
It's not that's what makes everything, all the stress, all the everything. That's what makes it all worth it. Isn't that cute? Oh,
yeah. So you mentioned administration. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit because to me, I mean, you can't be a teacher if there's no school. And, well, not support, but like there's jobs that are teaching, but there's jobs connected to the teaching that isn't teaching. You do need that to have like a place where people can go. And oftentimes I feel like they're not on the same page. How do you see that in your work? And you don't have to say anything specific, but just how do you see that in your day-to-day?
I mean, everything starts from the top down. It really, a principal sets the whole energy and vibe for the whole school. So really working with a principal who's amazing versus a principal who you can visibly tell does not really care or is not invested in the teachers or students just makes 100% a difference. I mean, I've worked in schools where there's no backup by administration at all, and it just makes you feel like you're already doing the hardest job in the world, but now you're isolated on an island with no supports and no structure and no help because
what kind of support what kind of support does a teacher need? And maybe your example highlights this.
So it has to come from above the discipline. So for example, let's say a kid is in class and he goes, "Fuck you, Miss Tritt." Okay. And I go, okay. So whatever, you go through, you pull that kid out, you talk to that kid. That's unacceptable. You don't do that here. You cannot act like that. Okay. Kid goes back in the class. "Fuck you, Miss Tritt." Then what? Then you need to refer to higher administration. So you really, really, as a teacher, need to feel that anybody above you has your back. right? Because what I've experienced a lot of times is that kids will, especially the kids that I teach, they will go up to, if some sort of incident happens, I send them upstairs, they go to administration, they will lie, right? They will, try and manipulate the situation or this and that. You really just want, people to be behind you and to support you and to intrinsically know that you are a good teacher and that you make good decisions and that you would not have sent them up there if it wasn't an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you really don't want them to undermine your authority. And I'm grateful that the school that I work at, they really, really do support you in that way, right?
In the
If I
discipline
send them out,
aspects,
if I
or
send them out,
yep.
they know that it's because there was an incident and they will back me up on that. But if you have no backup, if you have no, people behind you, it's really, you're giving kids empty threats, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to get a P-flip. And
Yep.
if that doesn't follow through,
Yep.
then that sends a message to every kid in
We can
that
do whatever
class
we want.
that you
Yeah.
can do whatever you want, right? Empty threats are the kryptonite
And
of
I
teachers.
don't think that you, as the teacher, should be the bad guy or girl. You shouldn't be.
Oh, we are a lot of the time.
You have
we
to,
are.
but like the more that there's somebody or the administration can take on that burden, the easier it is
Yes.
for you.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
like sometimes so you have security guards, right, at your school?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they ever come into the classroom and like say something? Like if something gets out of hand? Or
Um,
do you try to stop that from
well,
happening?
no, they only come into my classroom if I call them, if there's an incident where I need
Okay.
to have a kid removed or
Yeah.
something like that. But it's there is such an important part too of our structure, because they're not just the people that are removing the kids who are starting fights or anything like that. They're the people who they're the first people that the kids see in the morning.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Because they check their bags. They're in our hallways directing the kids. So our security guards are so important to the whole process. Again, because they respect our security guards. Because why? Because our security guards know who they are. They say, hi, welcome, come on in. We know, you say goodbye to your mom, whatever, the same thing. They'll start the process. But they're
So
very, very, very important.
what other support as a teacher besides the discipline aspect do you feel that administration in a school can provide?
Depending, inner city kids, daily therapy, honestly, emotional support.
I mean, yeah, that's ideal. I mean, it's good. It's good enough. Like sometimes it's hard enough to get them in the classroom and get the education. So, but
honestly, some real career counseling, because I feel like a lot of career counselors will just throw a FAFSA form at kids and call it a wrap. But real career counselors who consider all options, trade school, things that don't always involve getting a 4-year degree are super, super important for kids to meet with.
yeah, yeah, and it's maybe specified towards what they can do or what they have experience in. Like if
Because,
they work
right.
they're near cars or something, like think about
Right,
that.
right. Giving tangible options and real outlets and real places that they can go to and work with.
Yeah,
That's important. And just having,
that sounds like a really important thing. Like, yeah, that sounds really important. Yeah, that like having that in the class or in the school, and I would imagine sometimes that the students don't connect what they're learning with how to make money, and sometimes that's one of the
right,
most important things that
right,
they can think of, can realize. Like that's a motivator.
right.
That's a good motivator
That's
for
the
them.
best motivator.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Getting your high school degree is fine, but it's a means to an end. What now? right? What are we gonna do? And then that's hard for me as an art teacher, because a lot of my kids come to me and they say, why does the art matter? Why does art matter to me? I go, okay, that's fair. I understand that. I understand that. Maybe you're not a person that feels artistically inclined or whatever. Don't feel like this matters to you in the broad spectrum of your life, So that's why I always try to make my lessons a little bit broader, right? Maybe let's talk about marketing, right? Let's talk about branding. Let's talk about all kinds of stuff like that. So it can at least a little bit apply to you, right?
Yeah.
So we're not just sitting here talking about foo-foo bullshit.
Yeah. That sounds like amazing that you're able to think that way and that you're trying to think that way in your curriculum. Like I'd imagine that's not easy to do. Um,
Yeah.
Another thing that I think about teachers essentially that I wanted to talk to you about is there's a power dynamic here, right? And something I've thought about is that a teacher is always the authority. And what happens, and I don't know if you experience this as much because your kids are undereducated, as you said, um, but I guess this is a broader question for teachers to a discussion about teachers. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase the question. So basically, I worry that, and another thing I notice in teachers, I don't mean to spend all the time like pointing out flaws in teaching, but I'm also kind of trying to challenge you here a little bit, in the sense of like, so teachers spend their whole time telling kids what to do and what's right and what's wrong, right? That's the position you're in, and then
Yeah.
if you spend your whole life teaching, or you spend many years teaching, sometimes I think that can give you a false confidence in your knowledge the longer you do it without actually learning. And so that's one of the other things that I see in these bad older teachers. There's good ones, there's great ones out there, but it's just another thing you see, I think, is that they just don't know that much, but they continue to
Yeah.
tell people what to think and try to tell people answers. Like, even when I was teaching, just a quick example is like a student would ask me a question about English grammar because I was teaching English, and then I wouldn't know it, right? And I was so tempted to just give them a bullshit answer and be like, just make something up, sort of like, I don't just because like the whole class
Oh,
is watching me. It's like, what am I supposed to say? I don't know. Like, let's figure it out, or like, let's look it up or something.
yeah.
But like, I tried always to say that, like, I don't know, but it's, especially
Yeah.
if you're into your situation too, where there's like a what you call it, like, there's some more of a power struggle potentially because there's more
Yeah.
people. Like,
Yeah.
how do you make sure you're not just getting cocky with your knowledge and like just telling people things
Right.
that aren't necessarily true? Yeah.
I mean, you try your best, really, but I mean, okay, so I've been teaching English this year. I'm an art person. I'm not an English person.
Yeah.
And you try as much as you can to be humble. My kids know I can't spell for shit. They know that. They know that. I can't spell for a god. You can't be perfect. That's why I tell them all the time. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I can be. The
Yeah.
best thing is you can do is make yourself a human to them. I'm human. I make mistakes. It's okay. But I write crap on the board all the time. There's spelling errors, and I tell them, if you correct my spelling error, I'll give you some chocolate. Nice work. Some of you are smarter than me sometimes. I don't know. You just try and stay humble as much as you can.
But I think it's like a natural thing that happens subconsciously. I know I'm getting a little too deep into this probably, but it's you start to think you know better than them about stuff, and you just like, you believe you know something because you spend your whole time. Yeah, you you can go. Go ahead, it's fine. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Emery just messaged me, by the way.
Well,
So
okay,
you need to take a break. Go take a break. It's fine. Come back.
I get that.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a live stream. Like, I mean, Yeah,
Oh, okay.
just don't take too long. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Okay. All right. Let's see if anybody's watching. So there's one viewer. Thanks, or maybe two. Might be two. It says three, but I think one of them is me. Amazing. 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 Oh, they just stopped watching. I gave them too much attention. I noticed that though. Like, well, I feel like when you're streaming, and like when I'm a viewer on someone's stream, I don't like know them that well. I don't want them to like talk to me. Does that make sense? Especially if it's like three people. If it's like a low amount of people. If it's like 1,000 people, they're not gonna talk to me. It's fine. Hey, Mikey, what's going on? Where are you from, Mikey? Are you from Korea or? I see you wrote my name in Korean there. I can see the chat. Yeah, thanks for supporting, man. Hey, nice. Wait, you have seen like so you said pogo isoyo. Pogo isoyo. So does that mean like that means like I have to see? I have to see. You have to see. Okay. Nice, nice. You tested my Korean. I knew a lot of Korean when I was in Korea, but it's already been 7 months, and I feel like I'm forgetting a lot. Okay. Oh, nice. You're from California. That's cool. That's cool. So you watched, nice. You watched Furious Homestay. Nice, nice. Wow. What did you like about it? What did you like about it? My sister like shows all our family friends and stuff that show. Sometimes I'm a little embarrassed by it because okay.
Are
You
you
said
happy?
Pogo Isoyo means I'm watching. Nice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Are you back?
Hi, Mike. Is
Can
that
you
him?
hear me, Emery?
Yeah.
Ah, Baya Dueo. Oh, you're from California too. You said Baya Dueo. Baya Dueo. Why is it Bua?
But they are.
Baya. I have to see. That's like I have to. Baya. Like Aya. Like heya heyo. Like I have to do. And Dwayne was like
No,
become.
Mike.
So Mike is teaching me some Korean that I forgot or didn't learn when I was in Korea. He says he's from
Oh,
California. So
oh, good.
our one fan watching, nice. Or maybe there's one other person. Okay, cool. We're gonna jump back into the discussion, but thank you, Mike.
All right. Let's do it.
Maybe if you if you have any questions or anything, or just want to talk, feel free to message me on YouTube or wherever if you find me on Instagram. Okay, Anne Marie, back to administration stuff. I was getting a little too deep into like some like philosophical stuff about teachers. I feel like,
Administration.
but then you know me, so where should we go from here? Is there anything that you wanted to like talk about? I don't want to
There's
be the only one
so
leading.
many crappy principals in this world. I'm so sorry to all the teachers out there who are literally floundering because I know there's a shit ton of you. I am with you. I am with you. It's rough. Okay. I mean, sometimes you don't always need someone to go and help you with discipline. Sometimes you just need someone to go and be like, hey, this happened today and it was crazy. And they just go, I know that was crazy. I'm here for you. Sometimes you just need that. So
Yeah.
having teachers, we're talkers. So having a community of teachers around you who's supportive and there for you and just decompressing all of the drama because teaching in high school is a lot of drama. A lot of drama. I gotta relive all the high school drama, all the relationships, all the fights, all the
Oh
all
man.
the friend breakups, all the crap. You shoulder all of that on a daily basis from however many students you have, 200, 300, whatever. You're shouldering that. So just having a support system in your school of just being like, oh my God, can you believe what Kristen did today? It was insane. To be like, I know she just really makes all the difference. Really, it makes it so much better.
So I think I noticed that sometimes you just want to like I haven't I've noticed that sometimes you just want to talk about like your job a lot,
Yes.
And I experienced that. I felt like I needed to talk a lot about a lot of stuff when I was teaching, but like
Mhm.
some of your friends just like don't like, or your family just don't like want to talk about it. Or like you're talking about it too much, you know. Like they'll tell you. Luckily,
Um,
I feel like other teachers are
yeah,
good to talk to. I luckily had like this really good friend who taught in the same school as me, and we would just go for like, I'd just like text her and be like, "Yo, let's go for a walk,"
yes,
and we just like walk for
yes,
like 40 minutes and just like
that's
let the
amazing.
shit out, you know? Like if
Yeah,
she needed to talk about something I did, and that was super
that's
helpful.
life.
So I
Yes,
can relate to that. Yeah.
that's why
How do
teachers
you let that
marry
out?
teachers.
Huh?
That's why teachers marry teachers. I'm just saying.
Oh, that
But
makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
oh my God, somebody who is not a teacher is can empathize and understand and be there for you, but they're never really going to understand your experience the same way that somebody else who is a teacher is going to. So
Yeah, I mean,
just
and also it's not fair to let your load out on them, you know, like you're let just
I ain't let that
too
out. I
much,
don't
too
care.
much, you know.
I don't care. I don't care. Whatever.
But,
But
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you have to have a teacher best friend. Quintessential. There
Teaching
is
materials, you know. Got the whiteboard,
yes.
the teaching best friend. Yeah.
You have to have a teacher best friend, somebody you go into their room. Oh my God, can you believe what Braden did today? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh my God, here you just got because we hold the weight of the world on our shoulders. We really do. And it has to be in fact. So just get a teacher best friend or call your mom. Your mom will listen.
Yeah, no, she has
Call
to.
your
The
mom.
unconditional love. Oh man. All right.
Yes, that's
Okay.
good.
Cool. I guess the last thing we would just talk a little bit about art because you're an art teacher, and we have
Uh,
barely touched on that fact that about what you're actually teaching. So I think that'd
yes,
be a good thing to kind of finish off talking about. Um,
yes.
how do you answer? Like, I'm your student. All right, I come to you. Hey, teacher. Yo, Miss Tritt. Miss Tritt, I got other shit going on. Like, I don't want to do your assignment. Like, that shit don't matter to me anyways. Like, why is art important? Like, why are we doing this? What do you say?
Well, it depends on the assignment that I'm giving them. Obviously, it's always hard to rationalize why art matters, but what I try to do is bring art to the spectrum of process over product, right? So I don't really care if my students make something beautiful. Okay, I don't really give a shit about that. What I do care is if they are calm and productive while it's happening. Particularly for my kids who just have a lot of trauma, I try to come to them from a point of see how you feel in the process of making this artwork, right? So let's say I give you some clay. See how you feel while you're making it, right? I hope that because this is why I got into art in the first place, is because it brings me calm and it brings me peace and it brings me zen and it makes the time pass quickly. Like you really get into that flow and that gives that's so important for a lot of these kids is just to escape what's happening in their lives. So I really try to focus them on projects that they can really get tactile with, like get your hands in there, really get in there, not worry about how it's going to look, just worry about what you're doing and what you're touching and how it's feeling to you right now, right? Play some calming music and see if I can give you a little bit of calm and respite in your day where you might have just come from math class or you might be going to English class. Maybe we can just focus on the art
Hmm.
therapy part of it. Really.
Yeah.
Just,
No, I mean that
just
actually is a very good answer. I didn't expect your answer to be that good. the,
yeah,
the no, I'm just like it is. It really is. Like it's about the process a lot of the time, and that's something that you can really get out of
yeah,
art. Like you answered a question I didn't even ask, which is like, why is art important, sort of. But like it's sometimes it's the
yeah.
process, and
That's how it's always been to me. And so that's how I know how to relate it to other people because that's my experience with it is that I've always had a lot of issues with anxiety and everything like that. So just putting myself into a project no matter what it is, doesn't matter if it's gonna,
Mm-hmm.
be some amazing piece of artwork that's gonna be shown somewhere. I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
It's about me and moving my hand up and down in whatever medium I'm using, whether I'm painting and just feeling out of my body for that moment, just feeling focused and feeling
Yeah.
not
If
stressed
like flow
anymore.
state, like,
Flow state.
yeah.
Exactly. Flow state. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer. I think we can. I kind of want to end here. I think we've got covered a lot of stuff. I'm,
Yeah.
and I want to say like two things to wrap up to. First, Anne-Marie, this is actually really interesting and eye-opening for me because I've never had felt. I almost feel like this platform of streaming live on the internet, like
Mhm.
is like puts you in like a different conversational mindset. Like I've
I
never had
totally
this kind
agree.
of
Yes.
conversation with you, and
Yes.
even though we talk about a lot of things, it's just
Yes.
an interesting dynamic. Something about being like on a show, is like makes you
I
have a
totally
different
agree.
conversation. So I thought
Yeah.
that was really enlightening. And also the other thing is like I see like just knowing you really care about your work and your students,
Uh,
and like it's awesome what you're doing.
um,
And just keep killing it. And yeah, like I hope that this was like somewhat helpful to you in some way, like maybe to get some thoughts
I
out
think that
or
yes. Yeah, it's good to talk about this, and I hope somebody sees this. Some teacher who is like, or
yeah.
some person who's like, I don't know if I want to be a teacher. I'm like, do it. It's gonna be
Yeah.
the best thing you ever did. It's awesome.
Well, I hope some people see it too. I'm making this
It's gonna be
show. I'm
awesome.
taking your advice and I'm making this show from a just I enjoy doing it perspective, and
Yeah.
realizing that to get a lot of people to see something, you need just to keep pumping out stuff in a catalog. So this is only the second episode, so don't expect anybody to see it. Maybe people if you want to send it to them, but I wouldn't expect like a lot of impact. But who knows? Who,
Well,
who
when I
knows?
get famous, people will think it's
Yeah,
awesome.
they'll go search your name, and then maybe this will be the only thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. All
As
right,
a famous teacher, because that happens.
a famous teacher. Yeah, yeah. You didn't choose the right career track. I feel like. Hey, you
Uh,
should start recording yourself teaching art online. That's like the only way, maybe.
maybe maybe you'll get famous. Who
Yo, make one
knows?
of those like online courses on like Skillshare or some shit. They can make some money doing that. No, I don't know. Okay. Anyways, all right. Thanks for coming on. I have
Okay.
another guest coming on Thursday. Well, like we took a break last week because of everything happening in the U.S. It felt like just a bad time to record something. I don't want to take any attention away from what's going on, and got two shows this week to make up for it. Thursday is going to be an interesting one. It's my friend Rachel. She works a lot in recruiting, and we're going to talk about basically how to get jobs. Some things about startups, but a lot about like how to get the right job. And she really knows her shit, and so I think it could be very valuable. So tune in, Annemarie, and I hope
Oh,
anybody that sees this will
Rachel.
tune in as well. Um, and yeah, I'm going to put on the end screen.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks again, Annemarie.